Okay, it is 7:10. I appreciate your patience with us as we get just a little bit of a late start. I need a motion to reconvene open session.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Angie. Second, I think that's okay. Okay, all in favor of reconvening? All right, very good. I'd like to welcome you this evening to our monthly meeting, and we'd like to stand first and say the pledge together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you for that. Do we have any visitors this evening that have signed up? Okay. We'll start with some special recognitions, and we have our first one. We'll hear from Rachel Carroll.
The primary and elementary cafeterias were nominated for the 2019 Award of Excellence presented by the Jefferson County Health Department. This is congratulations to Karen Dempsey, who's the cafeteria manager at the primary, and Lori Water, who is our cafeteria manager at the elementary. They have high standards in food safety standards, and they will have a winner coming up in March 22nd. We'll see if our building's win for it, but we're very proud of them for it, and we're excited that our cafeterias were nominated.
It's awesome. Congratulations. Mr. Riegnauer, I believe you have some things to share.
Yes, ma'am. Amy Hodge was named the Middle School Counselor of the Year. On February 8th, the Jefferson County School Counselors Association honored Ms. Hodge as the Middle School Counselor of the Year. She has worked at the intermediate for 15 years. She is a kind and caring counselor that will go out of her way to meet the needs of the students and the staff. She has been instrumental in developing and implementing the #LikeAGirl program, and last year she, along with two other of her colleagues, produced an anti-bullying video that went viral with around 750,000 views. And then last spring she did a TEDx talk at Jefferson College on how to inspire students through technology and video YouTube medium. We are blessed to have such a caring individual working with our students and staff. So congratulations, Ms. Hodge.
Yes.
And also, we have news from the Nest. The intermediate students under the direction of Jenny Payne, our gifted teacher, have produced their second edition of the building newspaper News from the Nest. She has been working with the students that have submitted articles, poems, pictures, and comments from the first semester. Ms. Payne has done a great job along with our intermediate journalists, and we have presented, I think, each board member with a copy of News from the Nest. So
We did get those. Thank you very much. That's exciting. Okay. We'll move on then to the junior high. Mr. Allison.
The junior high would like to recognize our student athletes who participated in this year's winter sports season. Thanks to our students, coaches, and parents who made learning in the classroom a priority as evidenced by their team GPAs. The following is a list of student athletes who earned a 4.0 along with their team GPAs. Wrestling team had a 2.9 team GPA. The cheer, 3.2, and Isabel Hogan had a 4.0. 7th grade girls basketball had a 3.3 team GPA with Kylie Hilton and Autumn Watson earning a 4.0. 8th grade boys basketball had a 3.5 with Jonah and Josh Allison, Noah Holland, Austin Romaine earning 4.0s. Pommies had a 3.6 with Isabel Harrell, Megan McCracken, Allie Stevens, and Riley Stevenson earning 4.0s. 8th grade girls basketball had a 3.7 with Jenna Brock, Dylan Day, Caitlin Hindle, Sophia Harrell, Riley Cruz, and Leah Pogue earning 4.0s. And the highest team had a 3.9 GPA, was a 7th grade boys basketball with Peyton Brown, AJ Heisel, Jack Prince, Dalton Ross, Chase Saharsky, and Richard Whitetop earning 4.0s. We had a Lions Peace poster winner. Haley Brown, an 8th grade art student, and her parents were honored recently at our Lions, or by the Lions organization at their district convention luncheon in St. Louis on February 16th. Haley was the district winner in the Lions Peace poster contest, and she was offered another check for her accomplishment. I believe the last one was $65. Very nice. Her parents were very happy, and it was a really nice ceremony the Lions put on for her. Some more art, good news. We have junior high art being displayed in the Senate hallway. Celia Gibson's submission was selected to represent our Senate district in the 2019 Senate hallway exhibition. Her artwork will be displayed from February 2nd through the end of the year. Celia and Mrs. Smelzer will be recognized in an award ceremony Monday, March 11th. Congratulations to Coach Lane Woodside and his 8th grade boys basketball team for winning the JCAA conference tournament. The boys won against the Festus team that had beaten us 3 previous times in junior high. They also battled back after starting off down 17-3 at Festus. It was a fantastic end to the successful season, and Coach Woodside had his second child, his wife, had their second baby during the season. So it was a great season for Coach Woodside. Chad's Coalition submitted an email recently, an award for our counselors at the junior high. It says, congratulations, you've been recognized by the Chad's Coalition staff members as an outstanding partner and advocate for mental health and suicide prevention efforts. We are excited to have you as one of January's Lighthouse Award recipients. The nominator that visited the school that day gave this comment. On the days that I presented at Hillsboro Junior High, it was clear that all staff members were collectively prepared and eager to have us there to address the issue of suicide prevention. The principal, assistant principal, and both counselors all took time out of their busy days to talk to myself and the other presenter about how students were responding to the presentations and how suicide has impacted their community. They have been consistently proactive about addressing the issue head on, making students aware of resources like the National Suicide Prevention Line, and having open conversations among staff and students. Staff members were interacting with students throughout the day, and it was clear that they have built strong relationships with the kids, creating a culture where staff members are exemplary, trusted adults.
Thank you. And we'll move on to the primary and hear from Dr. Wallace.
Ms. Conyers and Ms. Husky's art classes had created some artwork, and we had 2 second graders, Gabe Hasty and James Ventimiglia. They were chosen out of 12,500 and something students from 70 different schools participated, and 7 students from each school had their work submitted, and the judges had to look over 436 pieces, and out of those 436 pieces, 2 of our students made the top 100. Cool. And so we went to the St. Louis Symphony on Monday night to see those students get that award, which was really, really awesome. And their pieces will be included in a traveling art exhibit that will be around the St. Louis area for the next few months. And one that was submitted late, this was Kanan Mickey from Miss Massey's 2nd grade class, won first place at Missouri AAU State Championship for Wrestling this past weekend.
And we did see an interesting article in the Leader with one of our student reps with a picture of Georgia and her team of executive officers for the Interact. So that was awesome.
Did you just find that out right now?
No,
Or did you know you were there?
Yes.
Well, you was in the paper.
Yeah, it was in the newspaper, that's right. Okay, so we had lots of good things going on in our district, and those were just a few that we highlighted. We did not have any visitors sign up to address the board this evening, so we'll move on then to the consent agenda. There were several items listed. We'll start with a motion to approve the consent agenda, and then if you have things you need to talk about, we'll talk about it then, okay? So I need a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. we have a second? Thank you, Jane. Okay, discussion on items that are on the agenda.
I wanted to discuss the 3 trip requests for
Okay.
the students. I guess I see a big difference in the 3 requests. Like, 2 of them I can actually equate with having viability, I guess, to send the kids on. And that would be like the request for the girls soccer team to participate down at Camden, because they're actually going to be participating and competing with other teams from schools that they normally would not have competitions with. The other one that I think has viability is the FCCLA State Leadership Conference, because they're experiencing, I guess, governance, and I think that that's a real learning experience. It's very curriculum-based for those students involved in that. The one that I have reservations about is the band trip to Chicago. For this reason, we already let them have a trip every 4 years, and they're requesting now to make it every other year. I looked at the things that they would be participating in, and except for a clinic, which there's no designated time given, like it doesn't say, how many hours, minutes, whatever are devoted to that clinic, the rest of that trip, to me, is like a little fun trip or a mini vacation, kind of. And it's 2 days of school out for the students and the teachers, or the supervisors that are going. So when they say there's no cost to the district, there's only no cost if we don't have to get subs for the teachers and, provide supervision for the kids that are not going to go on the trip. Their projected cost is $56,000 out of the community, because I'm assuming they're going to have to fundraise to acquire that money. And I guess I just see a big difference between 2 of the trips versus 1 of the trips. And I don't know,
Anyone else have any thoughts about those?
When I looked at this is pretty much the trip that I'm taking with my granddaughter right before Easter, or right after Easter. And I'm thinking this is more of a vacation instead of curriculum-based. I know it's music related, but when I look at trips, I do look at the value of what is actually, how much time is spent in curriculum-based competition, that type of thing, versus the fun sightseeing type items that, yeah, if you're going to Chicago, that would be a good thing to do while you're there. But I also question next year in the calendar, assuming that the calendar is approved, we're going to have a full week of guaranteed spring break. I have no problems with them doing this off of school time.
right.
And that's my opinion.
If they want to do this, like, we have that dedicated spring break, they could do that then. If they want to take this kind of trip, they could do it the day after school is out.
We discussed that last year.
Yes, I mean,
Because you're not just pulling 12 kids out, you're pulling 50-some kids out, and it affects all the classes.
it affects all the classes that those kids are in. And it's at the end of the school year, and that is a concern, I think. When teachers are trying to get ready for end-of-course tests and everything else.
Looks like the first payment's not due till, is it September? So it looks like there's still time there as discussion, since that first payment's not due till
Right.
September.
I mean, I would recommend they move it to spring break week.
I
And then they can take
recommend
another
that.
day or 2 if they want it. And because it's not affecting school time, academic time.
And I'd like to know too, just for clarity, how how much time are they spending in that workshop? It does say that they're attending a workshop, but
Right.
is it half a day? Is it
Right.
3/4 of the day? That might help me better decide if it should be spring break or if it should be during a school day, because I don't know how much time they're spending in that workshop.
And another question I would have would be, they're basing their costs on 2018 costs. This is gonna be a trip in 2020. Transportation, you know, fuel costs may go up. I mean, I would like, even though it is gonna be picked up mostly by fundraising, I'm assuming, I still, you know.
And then on day 2, it says if they have a possible performance opportunity, when will they know for sure if they're performing or not? Because again, that plays a big factor if it's an educational related trip versus just a trip.
Sure.
Because if they are performing and they are attending a workshop, I see it
And
being an educational trip.
Well, the workshop's on day 3 between breakfast and
Looks like
shopping on the
lunch.
Magnificent
Yes.
Mile.
Right, it looks like it's just maybe a couple hours in the morning, but I'd like to know for sure.
So I think we ought to pull that one for more
That's
clarification.
fine.
Yeah.
Because the other two, you know, definitely
And
competition.
I think my
That's
biggest
silly.
concern is that they are requesting now a trip every other year instead of a trip
Did
every
it say that it
4
used to be that way?
Yeah, 2000.
2004.
I read
At
that.
one point, it had been. But if they're going on their own time,
Right, if they go on their own time, then that's not an issue.
right.
But it's the 2 days out of school.
And I'd like some clarification too. I know we keep talking about every 4 years or every other year. And maybe it's just homework for me is, you know, what groups do we typically have field trips every year? And which groups do we do every other year? For me, it helped with some clarity
Sure.
for me. You know, 'cause I do know like, you know, the soccer shootout in Camdenton, that's a yearly thing, right?
Right.
So I would just.
But it's
help
also
me.
where we know the kids are gonna be competing and, you know.
When I read this, I was comparing it to Mr. Riedenauer's DC trip.
Right,
And, you know, that is not even done on school time.
no.
There's really just 2 days here. I mean,
Sure.
day 1's travel and day 4's travel.
But it's 2 days out of school. Yeah. And
Okay.
so spring break is for those.
So would we like to hear from the band director?
Yeah,
next?
maybe Mr. Dieter could
I'd
explain
like
it
to.
more clearly on what they're gonna do.
If it's tabled, then I think we can visit, pending the calendar approval of,
Right.
hey, what our, guide some of that discussion is. If there's something that week of March, then it opens up a bunch more opportunities.
Right.
That, and then again, if they're performing, and depending on how long that workshop is, if they're attending, there may be justification for it to be during a school day. I don't know. So,
And we don't know when the clinic, if that's, what the window of opportunity
Right.
is for that. The clinic and the performance, so.
We would pull that one.
Okay, right, so that one has already been pulled, right? Okay, were there questions about any of the other items? Okay, so when we approve the consent agenda, or when we make the vote, that item for the band trip will not be lumped in it, okay? Okay, so we have a motion to approve the consent agenda minus the band trip. All in favor? All right, very good, motion carries then. Okay, we'll move on then to reports. We'll start with the central office report. I believe Dr. Isaacson starts, and then we'll pick up with Mrs. Hildebrand.
Yes, a couple of items that we put in there is we had our job fair on February 9th, and I want to thank Ms. Nowak and Ms. Ringo, who have taken our Apple Track and basically made everything totally online and so integrated, which will help us through hiring season, as well as Ray and all of our administrators who came in that day. We had 110 individuals registered, 74 came and visited with us, 59 certified and 19 classified. Actually, the day the couple days after the job fair, Ms. Nowak actually brought in this report, and she had itemized all this, so.
She was excited.
Yes,
about
I mean, that
this.
shows the level of detail that we had is this year, while some of our numbers were down, I think overall than in the past, in visiting with administrators, our quality has went up. And it's good in visiting with individuals that come in, you know, it's working with higher people. We're still a destination district where people want to get to and work within our district. We have a lot of local teachers, I think, that would like to work here. And so this is a key hiring season for us, especially with the ESIP and some of those items that we've had going on. So we're entering that period of time, and we're able to meet with a lot of potential new educators here in the district. The second item is just to bring you up to speed. Ray and Regina attended, and I arrived a little late, they were kind of wrapping up, but they are doing, if you notice all the flags out front, is they're extending the sidewalk project from up in front of Mercy, and then we'll tie into Maple, up on the street. So they're starting that project. They've visited with our transportation. Then we have some issues. It's just that we'll work with the city on. I'm excited to see when that's done. It's going to look very nice. But when you see construction here up front, that's what's going on. Ray, do you have anything you'd like to add with that? Or?
As they finish up that project, so you know, we are looking at adding a sidewalk along Leon Hall that will tie into that one across the street. So at the cross light and the signal light, we'll actually have a nice walk space for the students. So.
The other item put in there, and I don't know if I've had visited with everyone, is the Chamber of Commerce Hillsboro Festival in May, which kind of coincides with our last weekend of school now, which maybe, that's right. We're doing our best to get it to the next weekend. But on the 16th, which is a Thursday, and then the 17th and 18th is the Hillsboro Festival. And their theme this year is Hillsboro Heroes, Hillsboro's Heroes, to celebrate our first responders, fire department, and Hillsboro educators. And so the district we're playing an active role in working with the chamber to help put on that event with some of our athletic teams, assisting with setups. Our teachers and sports staff members of the year will be riding the parade, as well as our shop classes are actually building cornhole boards that we'll have as a district to use. Also for events, we have 15 of those that we'll use. And Ray, I visited with Ray about doing some flagpoles for the city and our child development classes, and working to work with the kids zone. So to really celebrate our staff, and the city is excited, the Hillsboro's Heroes. So kind of as we're finishing up our year, recognizing our staff, but also kind of to continue to grow that relationship with our community. So it's pretty exciting. And I get to work with the golf tournament with Mr. Lewis.
Of course.
I slid that in the back end.
Yes.
All right, Ms. Hildebrand.
Next is Mr. Reednour. He'd like to discuss some of the changes for next year within this building.
So, as you probably already know, our fifth grade classes are all self-contained. The teacher teaches everything. Sixth grade, it's partners. So one teacher teaches math and science, another teaches ELA and social studies. So we're kind of throwing that out. We're going to take the sixth grade structure and move it to the fifth grade. We're going to take the sixth grade and break them into 4 cores. ELA, science, math, and then social studies and research. So they'll have an ELA component with them as well. So the kids will rotate between those 4 cores. In the report that I gave you, the lineup has actually changed a little, and so I apologize for that. So here's the new lineup, where everybody's going to be doing and explaining their job descriptions. Sorry. It will, some point may come to your attention because we are changing how we do teacher requests, which is very much an important cultural item in this district. So before you could pick your teacher, you could also pick your first, second, third teacher. You could also give comments about that. So let's say Miss Petrie was your number one selection. So you would click Miss Petrie, and then you'd pick her again, and then you'd pick her a third time, and then in the comments you'd say Petrie, 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 Petrie.
Boy, I'm good, aren't I?
You are. And that's usually the way it works. We're not doing it that way this time. So with the 5th grade, you can choose one of 3 teams. You can't pick a specific teacher. You cannot order the teachers either. So that will be interesting. And we're not allowing you to make comments. If you need to make a comment, you can send me an email and that's fine. For the 6th grade, you can pick 2 of the 3 teams. So basically what we've made it down to is you tell us who you don't want, and then we'll find you who we feel is the best fit for your child. Because we understand that there may be, your child may have come through here, your first child, and it didn't have a good experience with the teacher. Not a problem, there's maybe a personality conflict or whatever. So you have the opportunity to say who you want as far as numbers, but we'll see how it goes tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. when people start calling me going, it's not up yet, it's not up yet. So teacher request starts tomorrow. Bright and early. So for us, it'll start probably around 8 o'clock. So, but that's what's going on, so that you know. And it's a learning experience, but everybody seems really excited, and we're looking forward to the future. And hopefully it'll help transition to Mr. Allison and Dr. Freeman.
I was going to say my 5th grader's going to be changing classes
Yeah.
next year.
Any questions? Here, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
The next item we have for our central office report is the much anticipated, although being 3 months late, APR report. As we've talked about before, this typically comes out long before now, sometimes November. It's been as late as January. It did just come out in February this year. So at a glance, we are evaluated on 5 different standards. Academic achievement, subgroup achievement, which is your special education population, free and reduced lunch, those type of items, and college and career readiness, and there are 4 subsections to that. Attendance and graduation rate. As you all know, we've had changes in the Missouri Learning Standards over the past 3 years. We're just finishing those up this year with social study, or next year with social studies, and then that transition will be complete. But the new tests in ELA and math are the tests that we took last year during testing time. As a result, we cannot compare this year's APR or any of our assessment results to any years previous to this year. What we can do is compare them to state average, which I have been doing. And honestly, I was pleasantly surprised. They kept talking about how rigorous they were and how rigorous they were. Ours actually, against state average, in a lot of areas, were above the state average, which is interesting when you come down to the last bullet point where our APR was at 92.2. And if you read in the paper, we were last in the county with a 92.2. This year's APR data reflected a slightly heavier focus on non-academic factors, which are your standards 3, 4, and 5. You can just leave it right here, it's okay. Typically, it's a 50-50 split on the point value. 50% comes from your academic standards, which were 1 or 2, and the other 50 comes from 3, 4, and 5. This year, they calculated it differently, and there was a heavier emphasis on 3, 4, and 5, and not so much on your academic achievement, which
That's interesting.
interesting for the school. Okay, so in this year's APR, there were several different changes. If you'll recall, in the past, we had something called hold harmless, which means that you can use your points from your academic achievement from previous years. So you could go back 3 years and use, say you got 12 points this year in ELA, but you got 16 points 2 years ago, your APR would be calculated based off those 16 points. So you could take the higher of the 3 years point value, which is interesting. This year, if last year's scores were better and we had a higher point value in each one of our sections, we could use 2/3 of those points from last year plus 1/3 of the points that we gained this year to create the actual number of points. And it'll be easier explained when I show you the graph. Next year, they'll use 1/3 of this year's points if they're greater and 2/3 of next year's points to combine to get the total. After that, we are no longer, they're going to cease using hold harmless, so you will go strictly on the data from that specific year, which to me gives you a lot, more accurate information. This year, science test, last year's test was a field test, so there is no data available. We did take grade level and biology assessments, and again, that was a field test, so they did not give us any data. They did not tell us anything, any kind of results, no point value, no you're terrible at this, you're great at this, nothing. Next year will be, social studies will be that way, and that will affect just our high school. You only get an EMC in social studies. It is important to note that historically we do not perform very well in science in our grade levels. Biology typically is better in 5th grade and 8th grade. We don't always perform as well as in other areas, so that will be coming back for next year. However, we've been doing a lot of work with our science curriculum this year. The standards are vastly different, meaning there's a lot more application to it than previous. So they have been doing a tremendous amount of work with that science curriculum this year, so that will help. The other thing that changed is the way that they calculated the attendance. So the proportional attendance rate, if you're 90%, the weight that they apply to the calculation is 1, 87.5 is 0.5, and 85% attendance, they gave you a 0.25 value. That is different from last year. Last year it was just 90% or above. They attached a number to it, anything else you did 90 points for. So that is different. Okay, so this is our information. Standard 1, academic achievement, the district administrator's assessments required by MAP to measure academic achievement. You can see listed on the side there your subject areas. Science is a 0 because it was a field test. You can see the points possible, points from the prior year, our actual points this year, and then adjusted points earned, that's going to be if we had to use the hold harmless. In this specific category, we did not. In standard 1. In standard 2, we did, and I'll show you that here in just a second. So in just looking at this brief numbers, you can see that we need to pay some more attention to a couple of different areas, which we will do. Standard 2, subgroup achievement, we are considered, we got word 3 weeks ago that we will be considered targeted in 2 of our buildings for subgroup achievement for special education IEP students. There has not been any other information released from DESE other than you have to come up with a plan to improve your subgroup achievement in both junior high and high school in 3 years. That's it. That's all the information they have given. They keep saying there's some more forthcoming. So as we get to that point, Matt's been reaching out to other people. I've been reaching out, and so has John. There are a lot of districts and a lot of buildings who are under that targeted portion. So we are aware that we need to make some improvement in that area. This is where our hold harmless came in this year, though. For both ELA and for math, you can see that they took the 2/3 and the 1/3 there in both ELA and math. And that's the only places applicable is in ELA and math. Science and social studies, they do not apply that hold harmless calculation to. Our standard 3 is our college and career readiness. The district provides adequate post-secondary preparation for students. You can see we earned all of our points except for that first column, which is our CCR assessments. That is our ACT, our ASVAB. However, I will tell you that this year's APR, the one that you're looking at, is the last group of students that were required to take. Everybody took the ACT, if you'll remember. Well, some of our students are not college bound. They are more workforce bound. So last year, we gave the ASVAB to all of those students as well, and we pay for just the juniors who want to take the ACT who are more college bound. So I anticipate that also will rise next year because we're having them take more assessments than just the ACT because some kids just aren't going to perform very well on that test. Also, within our policy committee meeting coming up, there is a MSBA proposed policy to provide ACT work keys, which is an assessment that would count in that category that is more applicable to students not entering a four-year university. So I anticipate that that will rise. And we are paying very close attention to, if you move a kid one point on the ACT, your points for this purpose rise dramatically. So we are paying close attention to those, and we keep spreadsheets and things of that nature. Standard 4 is attendance. We did gain 100% of our points for attendance. The next and last final standard is standard 5's graduation rate, and again, we earned 100% of our points. I will tell you that next year, with social study being removed and science coming back, your denominator is going to change. Sometimes they mess with the calculations also, just like they did for this year. So some areas of focus. I handed out a copy of a 5th grade unit in science. This is our new curriculum format. We took everything out of Build Your Own Curriculum at the end of last year, and we are in the process of putting everything back into this format. This format is much more teacher-friendly, and it allows for more collaboration, and we've broken down the standards more with something like this than with Build Your Own Curriculum. Teachers were not utilizing that. So we made a little bit of a different format, something that's much more user-friendly. This is it's like a one-stop shop. Everything you need to teach that lesson is here or is linked to this document. So it makes it easier for teachers. We are also in science right now piloting something we call MySci, and it's hands-on. We're doing that kindergarten through 8th grade. A couple of different teachers in each grade level. They give you they're made out of WashU. They give you the kit. They give you every supply you are going to need to teach a certain unit. Whether it's cornstarch, balloons, whatever it is, they give it all to you and then break down that whole standard for you. And the teachers that I have talked to are really, they love it. So that's something that will come back to you all for after April, hopefully. Our subgroup achievement is an area of focus. Again, Matt and I are working on a plan, trying to get some more information from the State Department as to, we know that that's an area of focus. It's been that way for a couple of years. So we're working on that plan. And then college and career readiness, like I mentioned before. This specific data is the last year that we tested every kid for the ACT. So we're going to see a difference there too. We've added the ASVAB and then hope to add that ACT work use component. Do you have any questions?
Thank you for sharing that information with us. Central office report?
It does.
All right. We'll move on then to facilities and grounds, and we'll hear from Director Best.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
All right. First questions are, well, like snow. So we got more. 7. All right.
We'll stop doing
great.
the snow
I'm trying to take a weekend off, so if anyone wants to cancel snow, I'm good. All right. In the report we sent you, basically it's seeing pretty well. We're looking at trying to finish up some of the projects in the buildings. We've got our punch list that, with the architect, Roy, who's here tonight, as well as answer any questions we need. We have worked out what the contractors need to fix and so forth. So they have all that information compiling now with the change order information that they need to complete for these projects. Now again, of course, there'll be some projects in the intermediate or elementary, that will be looked at later in time that we need to look at finishing, but we'll get to that point. But everything else is trying to get fine on the table so we can get in there, they can get in, get done, and we can have our facilities, and everything's going to look really nice when we get completed. So they're working on that as best we can. One of the things we did have problems with, didn't have an issue with, is the hot water issue at the junior high for the science labs. We talked about this before. On February 14th, because it was Valentine's Day, we all decided to get together. So Roy and the engineer, Margaret, and a few other people from Rockmiller, and all of us met up at the junior high one morning. And we decided to talk about this issue, see what we was going to do. With all the solutions they come up with the plumber and the engineer, I think we have a good solution. So they are in the process. Roy and them are finishing out. They got the drawings done. They're getting all the orders out and the equipment ordered. So when we get that in place, hopefully in the next few weeks, I guess, hopefully, Roy? Yeah. What do you think? We will have all the hot water we need in those labs. They also addressed the hot water issue in the bathrooms that time too, in the new ones. They've got a plan for that. It'll be from a different tank, and they got that all worked out now. So hopefully really soon, it'll all be perfect. All right? So that's where we're at on that. Other planning we've been doing also, we worked on with Mr. Allison and Mr. Marino, helping design the new layout for the floor for the gym at the junior high. Again, we get to put the new floor in this year, it looks like. So I just got done with the RFP. It's been approved by central office, as well as Kelly, of course, making sure everything is right. It's out there on the website. We contacted the vendors that applied for the bids about 3 years ago when we did the high school, and we talked to them individually, as well, of course, it all being out there. So we're hoping to get that started, get that information underway. We're hoping to bring the bids to you probably in the March meeting, and then, of course, they'll have until basically July to get it done because of all the schooling. But we will basically have it underway, and all the design work looks really nice. So they did a great job getting it ready. So here we go. We're going to get that done. We also looked at a couple other things with construction, and I think one of the biggest things that was really cold was in July, or I guess it was around July 19th, a couple of the teachers at primary, we decided they wanted to go into their own rooms, kindergarten rooms, okay? So they come in on their own time basically and came in and finished moving their rooms. And so basically they started on the 19th, they worked the weekend before and everything. So I thought that was kind of cool. They worked well. Dr. Wallace has worked good with us, trying to get all these moves done. Because we didn't want Scott to have all the fun with all the moves he's doing. So Dr. Wallace came up with about 12 new moves. So thank you. So we got about 12 teachers at the primary also being the shifting and moving around too, so a little bit. So it'll be a kind of a busy summer, we think, with moving around, but when it's all done and said, it looks great. Teachers are in place where they need to be. The rooms are going to look sharp for them, and I think it's going to be a good upcoming year for that. So looks good. So the other things we looked at, work orders, basically pretty well normal for us around February, 167. We basically have more snow days, of course, as you know, so we focus on a lot of snow removal, as well as trying to get into making sure that kids could get out to the playground when we could get them out there, because as you know, it's stayed pretty cold all these past months and everything. One of the biggest things we were really happy with, and took some work, but we thank everybody, yourselves, central office, but We were able to finally get the HRU unit that handles the South Intermediate, which is Mary Luby, where she can have heat and everything now. So we finally got that in place, so that $20,000 job is done. Keep in mind that the insurance company paid for all of the thousands, so we're okay with that. So, but it is done, and Mary's probably more happier than she's ever been for a while. So we're going to keep it that way. So, but we're doing good. The team leaders are having meetings with their groups, as we talked about. Dr. Ryan introduced to us this year having team leaders for the buildings, where it's basically a maintenance gentleman that helps us oversee the custodial branch, working close with administrators, hopefully all the time. And what we keep trying to do is trying to improve that standard in that building. Okay, trying to get ahead of the game if we can. All right. So they've been having meetings, discussions. We've sat down. We've got plans, started in rotation of what we're looking for this summer, where we need to do repairs, what we need to do with this building or this part of that building. So these all play in a role, and then of course we sit down because it works out well for us to work with central office, because then we can work closer with Kelly with our budgeting, and then that way we know that we're doing a better job at putting so much money in each category. Because before it's like, oh, everybody wants to paint. Okay, we're all spending all the money on painting, and then we have nothing left to do building or the Viger wall. So we're going to do a better job at hopefully at maintaining those funds, and that way we can do it by sorting like this. So the team leader program is working well. It's helping us a lot, and I think it's also helping the buildings and presentations to the district. So we're very proud of that. So that's where we stand, and we're in pretty good shape at this time, I hope, and we believe, and getting ready for some more snow. We had set a goal for 20 inches for this season, just so you know. We're almost there, so we're done. Almost done. So, all right. Any questions at all? If not, thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to technology with Director Ringo.
Good evening. We had 185 work orders completed in since we last met. Construction, we worked on 4 primary classrooms, setting up the computers, smart boards, phones. Map testing, Aaron set up a new testing server for map. They changed the way they do it, so we had to set up a new server, but now we reduced it from 5 servers down to 1, which is going to be a little bit easier to manage. With Microsoft, they had a Windows update, and it caused an error on our Windows 7 computers. So that's kind of been a chore. We've been having to go around. They don't have a fix out yet, so we had to figure out something ourselves. And so we've been having to go around to all these machines with Windows 7 and run this fix on all of them. So it's taken a little bit of time. We're excited that we actually have some storage space at the junior high now, so that's really exciting for us. And so Aaron Johnson worked on building shelves down there, so we actually have a place to put everything. And for this month, we did some team building exercises, and Mark is continuing his training classes on My Learning Plan. Any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next report is the financial report, and Ms. Ginge isn't here this evening, but Dr. Alex is going to fill that gap.
Yes. On the 2 graphs there, you'll see that our total fund balance is on the top graph is our debt service, which is higher this year than it was last year, and that's in response to us increasing that debt service levy as a part of the Prop C issue. Then we have, and our operating funds are coming in lower, which is what we expected, because that was the numbers that we had to reduce that levy. Overall, our collections from the county are coming in good, according to Ms. Genge, and she put the information in there regarding the approved budget and some revenue items, as well as she's submitted a mid-year budget amendment for this school year that will be voted on later on in the new business.
Okay, thank you. And short and sweet. Okay, our student advisors Georgia Hollingsworth and Michael Wright, I think have some things to share with us this evening.
So tonight, we wanted to have a report ready for you guys, like, with everything we've done, but we need a little bit more time for, like, the specifics. So we think next month we'll have, like, a full thing, but we did want to give you guys an update as to what we've been up to for the last month. So I guess for the last 2 weeks mostly, we've been going around to all the buildings and talking to the students and the principals and trying to, get a better understanding of the whole student body, because it's hard to remember what we were like whenever we were in 6th grade,
I remember.
Get back in touch with that.
Hey, kindergarten.
Yeah. So anyway, we went around and we talked to the kids at the junior high and the intermediate during their lunch shifts, and we kind of asked them some questions and kind of got some feedback on different things. What do you like about school? What don't you like? If you could make any changes, what would they be? Got some really interesting answers from a lot of the kids. So that was pretty neat. And then we did go to the elementary and the primary. We got to talk to the principals there, which was pretty cool. Got some information from them as to, they could kind of better represent the student body because those kids are pretty young over there. And we did go in and we did talk to one lunch shift at the elementary, and that was really cool. Just because it was neat to get to talk to those kids. So yeah, that's what we've been up to. So this coming month we're gonna send out some surveys to our fellow high schoolers and try to get some information back from them, and we will have a nice report for you guys next month, hopefully, with some good info in it. So I think that's what we've been up to. You guys have any questions about that? I don't know.
Are you finding that the students are open to talking and sharing?
Yeah, it's
Good.
yeah.
Especially the intermediate kids.
Especially.
Are they happy or disgruntled? They were little angels, and then like they had the junior high, and I was like, oh my god.
Not using the word angels?
Junior high is a beast in itself.
Well, I cannot wait to read what some of the kids have said. Make sure you include the good and the bad.
I'm curious on what they like and don't like and what they would change.
And what they would change.
They had some very, it was impressive.
Yeah.
Very good discussion, I think. I'm excited for you to see, we've kind of touched on, they ran through their paper pencil notes, and the kids offered a lot of great perspectives on things. And it wasn't just, like things we laugh at. I mean, it was like legitimate, like, hey, why don't we do this? K-12 and things that they saw in different buildings. And we talked about late starts yesterday, because with all these recent snows. And I asked what that would be good, and they offered a good perspective of, like, they thought the attendance might not be very good. So that's something we'll have to consider as we go through. But I'm excited for you to hear next month. And I said by myself, we had a good conversation yesterday. But a lot of, apparently junior high is no fun, Mr. Allison.
Is that why you
I was down on it, yeah. I was kind of like, we're fun.
You're still there.
Yeah, well,
Thank you guys.
I was.
Thanks a lot.
We did take their phones away after January, so.
well, no wonder.
That was noted.
And our reps did attend the breakfast with
Yes.
Director Petrie, myself,
That was interesting.
Dr. Isaacson for the state of the county. So that was a fun morning. It was really, really early morning.
Yes, it was.
It was very early.
I don't do that time anymore.
Okay. Our last report has to do with the legislative day trip that we had 2 board members make. Is it 2 weeks ago?
February 11th.
Okay. So, Director Petrie and Director Saharsky were the ones that attended that, so I don't know which one wants to go first to share.
I can.
Okay.
I attended 2 sessions. They had, 4, maybe 6 different sessions, and and you could attend 2. I attended the one on the budget, the state budget, and just to give you the highlights of what applies to us in education, the governor's budget for fiscal year 2020 is $61.4 million to continue fully funding the foundation formula, $10 million increase for student transportation, $3.1 million for early childhood development program, $250,000 to increase the STEM career awareness among the students in grades 6 through 8, and that's pursuant to House Bill 3, 2018. And then $450,000 to provide teacher computer science professional development programs pursuant to House Bill 3. The other session that I attended was put on by the superintendent from the Kansas City Public Schools, and he also had his chief financial officer there and another central office assistant. I can't recall exactly what his position was, but their program was to tell us how charter schools in that area had affected them. And they showed the multiple, I don't know, costs of like transportation. Instead of just having, the cost now has to be divided up between the Kansas City Public Schools and 23 charter schools. The number of, cooks, just all how the money is just not, it's spread out so much that they're just spread thin. And most of these charter schools are K-8 districts, and so the kids will get through the 8th grade and then they don't know where they're going to go to high school. And so there's a lack of continuity. It really left me alarmed and concerned if we see charter schools move into our area, about how resources are so dispersed now, and there's such a decrease in the resources that the public school, receives, because so much of it is now going to go to the charter schools. And another big concern that they have is that the charter schools do not serve the SPED population. And that's, how much resources we have to put into that. There's so much duplication now of services that it's almost impossible for them to be successful.
Well, and I work with the Kansas City School District, and because their funds are so limited and spread so thin, they rely heavily on community partners. And, community partners, nonprofits, or groups like that come in and help bring services and supplies and things to their district because they don't have the funds. So,
I mean, it's alarming. It is very alarming. The one highlight I thought of the conference was that our new commissioner, our commissioner of education is Margie Vanderbilt, which she got a standing ovation, and that everybody was glad to see her back. So
That's awesome.
Okay, Director Peach.
I went to 2 sessions. One basically was on the legislation, and every single one of us in this room, we need to be on top of contacting our legislators, even if it is just an email. But if you do take the time to really write a personal note to ward off some of the alerts that we get, what's going to be on the floor, because the expansion to Jefferson County of charter schools is due to be on the floor next week. And it keeps getting postponed a little bit. But that, of course, is a big concern. PSRS, very major concern that teachers in the future might get the option of paying into PSRS or a 401k, which will definitely weaken our retirement. And those of us that are retired, those of you that are soon to be retired, it's phenomenal, and the state of Missouri has one of the best ones. And over and over, people who invest in 401ks do not have the steady, secure payment that our pensions do have. So, legislators, we need to be on top of that. The empowerment scholarship for to fund private and homeschools, that's a major concern, because the money, again, will go to those areas instead of coming to the public school system. The other one I went to was on teacher shortages, and it is becoming a very dire situation. And Missouri is 49th in the lowest beginning salary, and there's only 50 states in the state of Missouri, so that was kind of scary. We do even out when we get to average teacher salary is Missouri is 39th, so we're definitely on the low end. But the concern is there's not going to be enough teachers to replace people as they retire, et cetera. And so the big push is to grow your own programs in high schools and really, get some of those teacher organizations for students and get them involved in interactive programs like that, secure future in teaching. And the number of people that go into teaching, it's kind of phenomenal. Within 5 years, they don't reach tenure because they have whoa, this is work. And it is challenging. So keep on your legislators.
Thank you very much. All right, so that concludes all the reports for this evening. We'll move on. There is no unfinished business, so we'll jump straight into new business for this evening. The first item in the new business is the approval of the MSBA Maintenance Service Agreement. So this service is what we currently have, and there is no change in cost. So I need a motion to approve the MSBA Full Policy Maintenance Service Agreement at the same cost as last year.
Moved.
Second. Thank you. First, Beth, and second, Angie. Any questions or discussion on that? Okay, so we'll take a vote then to approve this service agreement. All in favor? All right, great, motion carries. Oops. The next item has to do with the adoption of the new school year calendar for 2019 and 2020. It includes a start date and an end date, but the start date more than 10 calendar days prior to the first Monday in September. That's interesting. And the end date is still like the average. It is. End of May or middle of May, kind of. But we have a guaranteed spring break in this calendar, which is different.
It looks a little different than previous calendars because we are required to have just a number of hours, not a set number of days. With no more than, next year we will not have to make up any more than 60 hours for inclement weather. So on this particular calendar, we would not go any later than May the 29th. It is important to note, though, we do have 1,064 hours built into this specific calendar. And if we do not have any inclement weather days, we will not take those hours off. The end date would remain the same. We still have them.
Can you explain the difference, for those who aren't part of the committee, the difference between the teacher work days and the professional development days?
Yes, the teacher work days, we going to do things a little bit differently. In previous years, including this year, we have combined those days where we will take an hour for professional development, 3 hours for teacher work time, 2 hours for district professional development, so it was kind of all over the place. And we sat down in the committee and we recognized that teaching is not an 8 to 4 job. We understand teachers go home and they spend hours at home and they spend hours on the weekends, and so we wanted to be able to recognize them for being the professionals that they are. So those teacher work days are simply that. They're teacher work days. They may have a meeting that they need to come in for and attend, but their attendance is not required in their building unless there's a faculty meeting or if they need to meet with their teams or something of that nature. There are PD days built in, 12, 13, and 14 specifically. The first one's in August. Those will be strictly professional development time. They will not have time to work in their rooms. I've already talking to Houston Craft to come to present to our school district on the 12th. Active shooter training, we've got set up for the 14th, and then we'll do some other training there on the 13th. There are 2 days, 2 other professional development days built in the first semester and 2 in the second semester. Again, those will be strictly professional development days, and those will now be on Mondays. Teacher work time will be then on Fridays. So that's a switch from what we've done previously.
Okay, do I have a motion then to adopt the 2019-2020 school calendar as presented?
Motion.
Thank you, Rob and Beth. Any other questions or thoughts about this
You know,
calendar?
it's been interesting, I guess the word's gotten out about some of it. And I've had some teachers tell me, I figured they'd be really excited that they're not required to be here, but they're like, I'm gonna be here. And it's just kind of cool to hear that. And I've had a lot of people come to me saying, when we're gonna follow Granby.
Wasn't there something in the legislature talk about that too?
Yeah, they just have to meet a specific number of hours, so to 1,044 hours. So if, if we were ever to look at doing something like that, with our current number of days, we'd be adding 2 hours to a school day. So they're adding 5 minutes. My guess, I haven't looked at the calendar, my guess is they're going a lot more days, obviously, 4 days, so.
It's interesting. We talked about it at one point.
Yeah, I remember because you guys you brought it up
I did.
from,
From
way
the
back when
conference.
it was just a few schools in Missouri, but.
Do you foresee any disadvantages to this?
To this calendar? No, none that I can think of. I think teachers will appreciate the
Well, I would think so too.
flexibility and.
I can tell you that when John and Melissa brought this calendar to the committee, the teachers seemed blown away. They thought it was the greatest calendar they'd ever seen.
They were excited.
I think they just appreciated the opportunity that if they did it.
Why, sure.
That they had that flexibility.
I agree.
Because they're not 8 to 5 or 8 to 4.
Well, just to answer your question, there is a downfall to this. This is only a 167-day calendar. So for our classified staff, it is one less day than our current calendar of 168.
Well, the only thing that I can even foresee is like 5 to 7 years down the road, if we continue doing this, that at some point somebody's going to say, I want to get paid for what I'm doing outside of, the classroom. But I think it's awesome. I would have liked it.
Well, you have teachers that come in on days that
Oh, sure.
they're not required to anyway,
Yeah.
before school starts and moving classrooms and things like that. So.
We'll just have to do a very good job of communicating that, because on the 12th, when we come back, we're having professional time.
All PDs.
So.
That'll be kind of that transition is, 97% of our staff does it the right way. We'll do way more than that. But there's going to be somebody that literally shows up on the 13th, like opens their door and then he's going to be mad that why do I got to go to professional development? And that's where we've talked with our teacher organizations of where do I need your assistance, not just administrators, like, hey, is to hold each other accountable. Is, hey, the work is the work, and allowing us to do those things rather than, in the past, we would have started our 5 days before school, and we'd be going to school or be at work Thursday and Friday of what's dead week, and that's so. Some of those items we'll work through, so it's exciting.
Okay. Are we ready to vote on the calendar then? All right, all in favor of approving this calendar as presented? Okay, motion carries. The next item has to do with the approval of the prom location for 2020. So I need a motion to approve the 2020 prom location to the Falls Reception Center in Columbia, Illinois, and the contract as presented. Thank you. Was it Beth first and then Renee? Okay. Discussion?
Just question, why Illinois? You know,
Because we don't, I would like this, because Dr. Isaac's been on this conversation, but because we cannot find venues that are big enough to hold our student body,
so
the amount of
Magic
kids.
House didn't work.
What?
You didn't
Yeah,
go
it
to
works,
Mar-
but
oh.
we've kind of.
Outgrown that.
Yeah, we've run through the gamut of those. So Orlando's works well, and what we would do from now on is just go back and forth every year between the two. Columbia is a beautiful area, it's close.
I know, it's only 40 minutes, I
And it
looked.
does,
It's just the Illinois
It's actually
border.
closer than we've been to.
Yeah,
We've been.
I agree.
I mean,
Than
And it's not downtown.
no,
Right.
it's not downtown, and
Just
it's
the
not
tax
St.
money
Charles,
going to
it's
Illinois
not
versus.
Chesterfield. It's a nice, easy drive for kids, too.
Yeah.
Even though it crosses a bridge that
I just
crosses
wondered
state line.
why.
The reason I gestured to Dr. Isaacson is because he did check with our music and insurance and legal and all that stuff, so.
To cross the border.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
It looks
Any
really
other
pretty.
I was just talking to
It's very
her.
It's a pretty location.
It's got a really neat website.
That's cool. All righty, so the motion on the floor is to approve this location. All in favor? All right. The next item has to do with purchasing additional Chromebooks, and you were given bids within the 48 hours in your email, so hopefully you saw that executive summary from Director Ringo. So, the bid information was from Firefly for $48,730 to purchase 220 Chromebooks. So that's the recommendation. Do we have a motion to approve that recommendation?
Second.
Thank you, Renee. And then Beth. Any questions? All right. That was easy. All in favor of approving this recommendation for this bid for the Chromebooks? Very good. So, more Chromebooks are coming your way. Very good. That's awesome. Okay, next item has to do with change orders. We had some change orders to approve. We're winding down with those. And that was in an amount of $58,718. Is that correct? Or has that been changed?
I need to pull change order 25, which is the counters in the kindergarten room. Is I'll submit those at the next board meeting. We've had a change and actually cut
Decrease the cost.
decrease the cost.
Good. So what is our amount for tonight then? We're just taking out the
58
9,000.
minus the 9,000.
47.
I make a motion to approve it with the subtraction of the change
Okay.
order 25.
Okay. So the removal of change order number 25. Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Is that Angie? Renee, sorry. Any other questions about these change orders?
John, the removal of the rock, did they stop that when we had that meeting? Or did we go ahead and keep going with that?
No, they, okay. Roy, speak to.
Basically, when we looked at that area, at the point that they were at, it would have been more to redo the drainage system of that. So we decided it would be more economical to go ahead and just finish up that rock removal, the what they had left to do. And so
Okay,
that,
so we're not gonna mess with the swales and stuff like that?
no, it makes sense, it made more sense after we examined it and how much more rock we had to take out to just let them continue that so everything sloped naturally the way it was, so we wouldn't have to incur any additional drainage. So.
Any other questions? Okay, so the motion then is to approve the change orders with number 25 being pulled. All in favor? Very good. The next one has to do with the budget adjustment. This was submitted by Kelly Genge, and hopefully you went through that to see the amendment to the budget. So, do I have a motion to approve the FY19 budget amendments as presented?
Make a motion.
Thank you, Angie and Rob. Any questions or concerns about that? Okay. All in favor of accepting or approving those budget amendments? Okay, perfect. Then we'll get to the last item this evening. We have the architect here this evening to have some discussion with us on the elementary sped construction.
Oh, he doesn't have, okay.
Should be the big charts.
Good evening,
Hi.
thank you. Good to see you guys again. What I wanted to do tonight is come before you and kind of bring you up to speed on the, I guess, the main level and the upper level of the elementary school that we've been talking about in some previous meetings. We were able to get all the drawings finished up and then get those to the contractor for bidding purposes. He was able to get the bids pulled in from all his subcontractors, some good solid numbers. They came in higher than expected. And so what we did is said, okay, time out a minute, let's go back and take a look at what we can do to maybe bring this cost back down to where we kind of anticipated it. And we went through what we call value engineering process. So we've got that number based on some modifications to the plans to allow us to get the number back down closer to where we thought we were going to be. In doing so, we still maintain the functionality of the space and the rooms and everything else. The whole process and the program that we had gone through with the instructors and stuff, we're still in place. So it's not like we're taking out rooms or we're making, spaces unusable, but everything still stays the same. We just changed some of the construction types and those types of things. So right now, I think we're in that 221, 230, somewhere in that range for the cost for construction. And I think we've got that down to where we need to be to present that to you guys. So that's where we're at today. I did plug that into the overall budget sheet, which I think you guys have seen or have. And as you look at that, the middle section there where it's kind of oranged out is the new numbers that we put in for that. There are a couple of other costs that we'll have to finalize if we get approval to move today with some of the technology ads that they want to have, and then the owner's portion of the mechanical, we're getting those final numbers. But as you see at the bottom line, we still have a decent contingency all the way at the bottom of the page, still left for other work that we could continue to do. So I just wanted to kind of bring some updated numbers with you there on that.
And to clarify, that is, if we build the elementary build out for $221,000, and that obviously may cost a little bit more than that. Invariably, there'll be a change order or something of that nature. But, and then we would have, with that building, we still estimate $454,000. But then also, that number, there's a few things we need to finalize as a district, is, and we have, it's already built into the, this project here was finishing up the 3M film. And so those numbers aren't finalized, but it's ballpark where they're taking numbers out. And the gym floor, which we estimate probably between $14,000 and $20,000 at the junior high. And then we'll need some furniture and to outfit that area. Is Ms. Genge and myself, we were kind of visiting today, is building the build out and looking at like the junior high, putting the floor in, and those items, we're still going to be north of about $300,000 left for like roof, blacktop, that type of one more other type of. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Is that,
Yeah, we're trying to, on this sheet, keep everything included in there so you have a good bottom line. You know, I mean, there's a couple of minor things, we don't have prices and stuff like that, but yes, you're still in that range.
I have a question, and maybe it's just, maybe I missed something, but on this sheet, it says number 6, eliminate bathroom. Are we not gonna have a bathroom upstairs now?
No,
Or what does that mean?
those were some of the items that we looked at to be able to bring the cost down. We chose not to take
Okay.
those, yes.
They should definitely have their bathroom upstairs.
Yeah, no, that will definitely be included, yeah.
well, and along those lines, if you can see here, when they gave us this form, we talked about this on, was it Monday?
Yes.
Is the items of kind of like, hey, this would be the cost if you took it out. And some of these here, like the baffles are in the hallway
Right.
to make it look a little bit more unique. Is we rejected a change in HVAC where they're doing, moving pipes around. Being a special education area is for $600. We need to have dimmable lights in there
We kept those.
and those type of items. These are a little bit more expensive light fixtures, but also as part of the look. What we accepted was Brock Miller's deductions, some voluntary deductions that they took. The biggest one is we're going to do drywall and metal studs, which they figured to be resistant. Upon reflection from the original drawings, I think that's probably a better course of action in reality, because that gives the district flexibility to, if there's ever growth, then you're able to move drywall. They're concrete walls, that's what it is. And so those ones in green that don't have rejected next to them are the ones that
That we're utilizing. Any other questions or comments? We're wrapping it up, guys, so that's a good thing.
And to end up with a balance, so
Yes,
that's nice.
and I think you guys, I mean, some of the change orders, yes, some of those are a little high, but a lot of them are owner ads, you know, that we were able to take advantage of the contractors being here and improve the facilities. So I think it was a real good process you guys went through.
So this is still working with the same contractor?
Yes.
So it didn't go out for bid?
No,
Or others?
they're already into that
Well,
building.
I knew that they were,
Yeah,
but
and they
that was
have,
the original plan.
they have to finish up some of the other things that are already in their contract, and this would affect that. So that's why doing this as a change order is the best way to go. And we did look over their numbers, and again, they were pretty much on board with trying to make sure that we could get this into budget. That's why some of the bottom lines were some of the deducts and the voluntary deductions and stuff that they're helping us out with.
So that's in line with all the protocols of bond and
Yeah, I
proper
mean,
bidding and all that.
it's an existing facility that we're working on right now. The owner is wanting to make a change to that portion of the project. If it was a totally separate building and stuff like that, then that would be a little bit of a different discussion. But it's part of the work that they're building and working on now. We're just making a modification to that portion of the work.
So this can be ready for next school year?
Yeah, we should be able to, if we can get things moving, this should be good for August next year.
That amount would be a motion.
So we need to approve the amount for
Approve
the build out of the classroom addition.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Second. And second is what? So the motion is to approve the 221, is that what it is? We're doing this number.
No, it would be,
It was the 221, 118?
yeah, 221, 118.
Okay. So did you get that one? Okay. So to approve the amount of $221,118 to complete the build-out of the classroom addition. And that's the motion, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor? All right, motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, and that is our last item of new business this evening, so we will need a motion then to recess open session, because we still have a few executive session items to finish.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Angie, and then Beth. So we'll call them.
Mrs. Welker?
Yes.
Mrs. Petrie? Yes. Mrs. Saharsky? Yes. Mrs. Oshie? Yes. Mr. Cruz?
Yes.
Mrs. Rainey? Yes.
Okay, we thank you for your attendance this evening.